The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
On Techsploration, your trusted tour guides, Craig and David, will explore every corner of Florida for the latest tech and innovations emerging within our communities as an inside look ahead at Florida's future.
Hello, this is episode number 19 of Techsploration on the Florida Podcast Network, where we are discovering the tech and innovation spaces thriving under the Florida sun. I'm one of your hosts, David.
And I'm Mike, and we're from Clarity Creative Group, an Orlando-based digital marketing agency.
On today's episode, we're going to talk about the FCC and all those pesky robocalls.
Then, Jennifer Lopez joins us to talk about her company, Jalapeño Digital.
And we'll end the episode with this week's tech tip. So, Mike, we all have cell phones. We seem really popular because our phones just keep ringing, but they're not our friends on the other line. They're robots. Why? Why are we getting calls from robots?
Friends text.
Well, yeah, at this point, right? The FCC is going to start blocking calls from certain carriers that are not following robocall rules. I love this. This is like fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
How many spam phone calls do you get a day?
Well, all right, I'm going to be honest. I get almost zero now.
Really?
I was getting up to 10, 15 a day.
Okay.
My carrier has a thing. It's a separate app that you have to download. I don't know why this isn't on by default, but you download the app and you say, screen my calls or do something. And overnight, my spam calls have dropped to almost zero.
All right.
So I'm going to be sitting here in the ivory tower of my awesome no spam phone call list and look down at everybody else, because almost everybody else is dealing with spam calls on the regular.
Oh, yeah, man. You have it lucky because I cannot stress. It's like 2 to 3 or 4 times a day at least. I'll get the usual, like my student loan. I don't have a student loan, so that can't be real. Or that my auto warranty has expired, and so many of them. It's like day after day after day. And then I think at this point, they just stopped leaving messages, which is crazy. But I have AT&T and they have an app that I put on my phone. It blocks some of them, but then most of the time it just comes through and it just says spam risk. And it's like, but you're still ringing and it's just,
See, mine doesn't do that. It used to say possible scam or scam likely. Now I don't even see those anymore. And if I load up the app, it'll tell me how many, it has blocked 74 scam calls blocked in the last 30 days.
That's huge. That's huge. See, I think half of them are just coming straight to my phone. So I guess
I did put in an auto forward to your number.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm getting them all, man. But I'm excited about it because it looks like what they're really focusing on from this article is that they're really saying that a lot of the big boys have done the technology that's needed to show trust about the phone calls that's coming. Because, a lot of times what was happening before is that like you could spoof any number and it let still show up. And now they're saying the big boys are saying, look, the only way we'll accept it is if you do like this, like trusting thing. And I guess there's 7 companies, none of which I've necessarily heard of, but I'm going to bet that if you probably looked at the amount of spam that we get, they probably take up 90% of the spam list. It doesn't necessarily say that, but I'm sure that most of it's coming from that. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to some relief if it equals that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are. A lot of people are still dealing with it on the regular, and hopefully they can get this squared away and then they can stop all those scam text messages coming through, because all those 74 calls that got blocked from my scam shield thing apparently have all just been turned over to text messages, because I'm getting multiple of those a day.
Yeah, I seem to have 14 FedEx deliveries that are running late, and I need to give them all my information, even though they know where the FedEx order is. So that can't be real. But yeah. Well, we're about to fix maybe the phone call side, and maybe next up they'll fix the text messaging. We're just it'll be probably in a few more years.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
We are super excited. That's Mike and I got guest host Mike joining us today to talk with the one, the only digital marketing J-Lo of Jalapeño Digital. How are you doing, J-Lo?
I am doing great. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Oh, we're so excited to have you and learning about you and hearing about you. You're on the call with fellow UCFers. So
That's right. Yeah.
Go Knights.
Yeah, go Knights. Very cool.
Got to represent the Florida side of things. So yeah, we're excited to learn all about Jalapeño Digital, what you do there, as well as I know you're really an expert in paid search. So excited to hear about some of the things that gets probably missed by most small to mid-sized businesses in the world of paid search. So tell us a little bit how you got into the ad side of things.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I can start with my time at UCF. So go Knights. I am a UCF grad, and I was part of the ad PR program there, which I know some of your listeners are a part of. So I did my, kind of stint interning all over at Orlando-based agencies. I worked for Evoke Advertising and some of those agencies out there. And when I ended up graduating, I got a job in public relations. And that was right around the time that PR was going very digital. So this was just at that time when like companies were having their own Facebook pages and clients were like, hey, my product's broken, or why did no one come to my house for this service I had scheduled today? And they were like, PR is digital, guys. Like this is a new thing. So I had my work phone, and all of a sudden I had 27 client Facebook accounts hooked up to my work phone.
Oh boy.
And so I was managing Facebook accounts from that organic side. So it wasn't yet into the paid arena. And eventually I had a client at the time, Moe's Southwest Grill was a client of mine at the agency I worked. And they said, what happens if you put like a Facebook ad up? And I was like, I have no idea what happens. Let's see. And so I worked with our media buyer at the time, who also didn't have that, social experience at the time. And we said, let's put this together. And so we did. And it was incredible. You could see clicks and what audiences people were a part of. It was incredible. So from there, I kind of said, this is where I have to, this is where I'm called to be, right? This data is incredible. So my husband now, boyfriend at the time, he was called to California for investors in a startup that he had going on. And the idea was I would follow and I would really try to hone in on paid social.
Sure.
That turned into paid search very quickly. Within a month of being there, I was like, well, Google Ads, going to learn it. So I worked for an agency out there. And from there, I just kind of grew my career. And I ended up working in San Diego, later in San Francisco. I won an international award, and that's kind of what led to Jalapeño Digital. It was by the Landies, so Search Engine Land. They give away a Landy Award every year, and it was for Female Search Marketer of the Year. So I won that in 2016. Yeah, woo! So it was super exciting. You can only win it once in your life, so I was for sure going to milk it as much as I could.
Absolutely.
And that's when I said, I can do this. I've worked for enough agencies. At one point, Google was a client of mine. So I call this Inception. I was running Google Ads for Google Ads about getting advertisers on Google Ads. It was very, very Inception. And so, I said, I'm going to do it myself. And, I had all these great connections, and that's how I started Jalapeño Digital. So a full freelance agency. There's probably about 25 people. Half of our clients are direct, and the other half are agencies that kind of use us to fill their gaps, help train their staff, and things like that. So we focus primarily on paid search, but we also have a hefty amount of paid social and SEO work as well now.
So tell me more about the name, Jalapeño Digital. Where does that kind of come from? It's a spicy idea.
Yeah, so I'm kind of I'm really big on puns. I'm known as being super corny.
Nothing wrong with that.
And yeah, so I was definitely, coming up with all these different names. I think I really like the name Katana and all these names. I liked a little bit of flair and sass, but jalapeno is just Jalapeño Digital. And so I don't know, if you go to my site, it's jalapeñodigital.com. It's just a whole bunch of puns in there. Nacho average digital marketers. It's just if you're ready for all the puns. you have to confirm that you like tacos, I think, to even submit my contact form. I don't know. It was just a fun time.
That should be standard on all websites.
For sure. Why not?
Just confirm that you like tacos to do business with us.
I mean,
David, can we implement that?
I think we can. I don't see an issue with it. As long as J-Lo says it's okay that we also have that, I want to feel like we're copying you because we respect what you're doing.
I appreciate that. I think it's all about transparency with clients. So, when you're running your own agency and you're picking out exactly who you'd like to work with, these kinds of things matter. It matters to have rapport and be able to joke around and have fun with your clients for sure. So if you're too stuffy to like tacos, I mean, who are you?
So then my question is hard shell or soft shell?
Oh man. I mean, I feel like there's so many. I would never discriminate against another taco. So
okay.
Any kind is okay with me. But I do have to say that I have some family that since moved over to Mexico. They make amazing tacos. I lived really close to the border, so I would hop over to Mexico, and I was definitely a fan of the soft tacos there. It has to be a corn tortilla. So personal preference.
All right. So either or answer works, and if you like hard shell or soft shell, you can still work with Jalapeño Digital. That's definitely allowed.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay. So are you saying though that people see that and then they quickly know who you are, or is it that it helps to kind of like maybe get rid of the, I don't know, we'll call them the stuffy clients probably that would be like, whoa, this isn't serious enough for me.
Yeah, it does. It does help us get rid of. I think that that's one thing that I learned working for so many agencies in my career is that like, wow, we could all do a better job of saying like, this is a client that I want to work with, because everyone knows. I mean, people work for agencies have been like, God, this client is just sucking the life out of you. And it can kind of turn into like a cancer around an agency quickly. And so that's why I kind of decided, I mean, if I'm going to run my own agency, and the way it works is all of my team members are freelance. So they all have day jobs where most of them digital is their full-time job in some way, shape, or form. So I guess kind of the makeup I'll kind of explain is like Jalapeño is like perfect for that person who is just at that senior manager type level where they're just now starting to manage people and not platforms. So this gives them the ability to stay close to Google Ads, stay close to Microsoft Ads or Meta or whatever it might be, as your day job is now managing teams of people who do that. And the reason why is because I've been in many meetings with many VPs who don't know what they're talking about. And so as they get higher up the chain, that's what ends up happening is you become, and I've had it in every review, how do you balance being the strategic and the tactical? And so Jalapeño Digital, for these people who this is their day job and now they're managing huge teams, this is like the Toastmasters of like staying close to your platforms, knowing what's actually happening. There's been a few months, I think, in our careers, like if you slept on Google Ads, you log in and you're like, what? This is totally different. So we're not in direct competition with like the agencies that are, employing these people. They think it's fun, like, great, go do, a little side gig. And so that's what it ends up being is like a little side gig. But with our clients, we're super transparent about, this is going to be a team that is got a high level of expertise. I mean, they're running strategies for, gigantic brands daytime. They value that there's a mix of people who work at all different agencies. So in a way, Jalapeño Digital gets to kind of absorb that knowledge. We don't have a one size fits all like approach, because that's how you scale out companies, right? Is like, we'll build all these paid search accounts roughly the same way so we can train our interns on how to do it. So it's just people who all have kind of a different thought process and stuff and come together to, build amazing stuff for clients. But we do talk with them about what we do accept from clients and what we don't. Like, we're not you can call me anytime, but these people have day jobs. This is like a nights and weekends. Like, how do we really work with clients that are partners that want us to like push their stuff to the next level, but they don't need all the, hand holding or whatever that you might have with the traditional CMO, right? Who like needs to know what's happening all the time in the accounts,
Yeah, so you're kind of working behind the scenes though a lot of times for these companies to get their name out there, get their visibility out there, and using the ads platform for that. Why do you think the ads in general are you have such success with it. Why do you think that's so important for, I would say, really any size business, probably, right?
Yeah. So I think, when you're running ads, it's not just the idea of you're running ads and you're getting people to act. So whether that is to make a purchase, to fill out a lead form, or give your business a call, you're not only running ads so that people take an action, but you're getting all that data passed back to you so that long term, you know who your target is, you know who's interacted with your business. And that data can then be used either in Google Ads to do way cooler things or across channel, right? So maybe you've tried Google Ads, you don't think it works for you. If you don't, you should for sure call us because we can make it work for nearly any business. But if you think it doesn't work, all that data that you have in Google Ads of who's interacted and who's not interacting, that can all be used for SEO plays, for paid social, for everything else. So for businesses, it's just so great to have that data and be able to, prove out. We work with a lot of startups, so a lot of people that are trying to get investors. They have, multiple stakeholders. They need to prove out sales. They need to prove that they can scale. And just that data is so valuable to have with investors, beyond just sales. So yeah, it can be great for really any type of business. It can be so localized. So even if you're like a small mom and pop shop and don't see yourself as like a gigantic, national, international brand, there's still things that can be done in your area.
Yeah. And you're saying it could be affordable, right, for that small mom and pop versus the larger corporate. It's still affordable for them. But I think, right, the small mom and pops kind of hear advertising and budget and things like that. And they probably immediately think, oh, well, that's outside of probably what I can do.
Yeah.
So how do you make that more approachable for maybe the small or mid-sized business?
So one thing that's great about Google Ads is there's no minimum. So like if you're working with like managed services, like some of these, they'll often pitch a lot of businesses like an Outbrain or like MediaMath or something. There might be like a minimum, like you have to spend at least $5,000 with us a month or something. With Google Ads, there is no minimum, but there is like our team recommends you probably don't want to go in with less than $3,000 per month. Just because it's like, that's $100 a day, which depending on what type of business you have, it's called PPC for pay per click, right? So we're paying for every click. Clicks can be really expensive. If you're in real estate, it can be a $15 to a $25 click. If it's something that's a taco shop, it can be, a much cheaper cost per click. So we usually say you want to do a minimum of $3,000, but it depends, if we're doing a super tight radius, it can be less than that. So there's a lot more flexibility in that sense with budget. So why you wouldn't go with like another service. You also would own all of your data. So that's another thing is a lot of like managed services, which are great and they can complement Google Ads once you have that strategy laid out, but they're not always as forthcoming with sharing their data. Whereas Google Ads, as long as you know where to look, you have everything at your fingertips.
So you like using Google Ads and their platform because of that transparency that they have somewhat through what they're doing, right? Because you can get the audience, you can get the keywords that they're using some of the times, but you can get some of that information. And I know Google changes and what you see and can't see, but even with them taking some of that down, I know that there's, as a digital marketing agency as well, we hear all and see it as well, and people are really angry about it. But I think we're really fortunate on what we see, because I'm sure you in digital marketing learning about it in college, but the amount of visibility that we have now is still tenfold from probably what you were even learning back then, right? Like that was probably not even a part of it. So
yeah, you're right. Google Ads has launched, a lot of newer, we call them like algorithmically led campaign types, right? That where it's a little bit of a black box. They don't give you as much data as they used to. You can mess with ad copy, but not necessarily like, your targets as much. So Google's kind of moving in that direction, but it still provides, with other campaign types within, the Google Ads interface, it still provides far more data than you'd be getting from, running a billboard. Not that I'm against billboards, but, running TV or things like that, you have like your Nielsen ratings and stuff. But this is actually who is interacting, who is paying attention. So, that kind of stuff is just invaluable for businesses.
No, we're big on that in our agency, because the billboard's not a bad idea, but maybe if you have $3,000, you're going to put that up on for one billboard, and you're going to have it be seen by, maybe 1 million people as they drive by a month, which is fine. But are you targeting the right audience? And are you hitting the, can you track that you've even gotten a phone call from that? Your phone rang, but do you know where it kind of came from? So obviously like that data that you can get from the ads are just so important. And obviously you use that for even other marketing side of it. Like you mentioned, like the SEO and things like that. Where do you find that the ads are going? Like do you like the AI driven ads? Have you guys had success with that? Do you still dabble in both?
Yeah, so we definitely do both sides of the house. I think traditional search, so traditional search in Google Ads, I refer to as like you're developing a keyword portfolio. So a good example is like cupcakes. So if you sell cupcakes, right? So you are having an agency that says, I am going to come up with a strategy for how we are going to sell these cupcakes, and I'm going to do it based on what people are searching. So something like buy cupcakes, and then they type in your zip code, that is like exactly the ad that you want to spend the most money on. Someone is ready to buy, they're motivated, they're in my zip code. And so we put all those keywords into an account, something similar like that, into a specific campaign. Then there might be kind of higher up the funnel, someone who's typing in cupcake design. Well, this person could easily make their own cupcakes, clearly, since they're very interested in the designs that we have. But can we have an ad that sells them and says, this is why you need our cupcakes. Don't buy your own cupcakes and design them, or, come get our cupcakes, right? So those types of keywords, they matter on how much you're willing to pay per keyword, because the higher you're paying on those keywords, you hope that those people are closer to conversion, that they are closer to intent. So the idea is someone clicks on an ad, they go to your website, and what are your options? So you may have an option where they purchase cupcakes right there. So you can buy them online and come to the store and pick them up in person. So you can like reserve your set of cupcakes. What I'm then looking at on the search campaigns is the amount that I'm paying to show my ad on that keyword, the percentage of people that are clicking through that are then buying cupcakes, and the amount of revenue that I'm then making off of the people who are buying the cupcakes. So I compare my revenue to how much did I actually pay. And that's where we come up with your return on ad spend, right? So for like every dollar I'm giving Google Ads, it's shooting back $16 more. This is a fantastic ROAS, $16 return on ad spend. So in like a perfect world, that's how all of that is measured on the search side. So nothing's really changing there. That data, I think, will absolutely be there. There's tons of, layers of audiences. You can add in an email list of here's everyone who's purchased before. Can we create a lookalike audience based on everyone who's purchased before? And then make sure if there's someone typing in that we're going to like pay double for that person, because they're very likely, since they look like my normal target. All the search stuff is kind of staying the same for now. What Google's doing outside of that is a lot of their shopping campaigns, display, discovery, all these other kind of like networks that they're working with YouTube. They've been launching new campaigns called Performance Max. It can run on search campaigns too, but we always still want to have our own manual stuff to see all the data. But these search campaigns are just Google saying, let us take a stab at it. And you don't get to see as much data as you do when you're developing the campaign yourself. Like you're not going to be able to see, well, here's all the search terms that Google's campaign is bidding on. But the idea is that it runs off of your conversion volume. So whatever that conversion is, if it's purchases, Google's going to be going after, well, how did we get this purchase? How can we find someone else like that? What device were they on? What websites did they visit before? Where did they go after? How do we find those people? And that's where digital marketers have kind of been up in arms, like, why can't you give us that data? We want all that data. So I think where we kind of go beyond and where things get a little bit complicated, or where we have clients that wonder, does this work for me, is when they are lead gen. So we have a lot of clients where you don't sell cupcakes. I don't sell cupcakes online. I have an actual store. What I can do online is I can have you fill out a contact request form, but I don't have a shopping cart or anything like that. And so then now we're having people click on the ads, but the only action they can take is filling out this online form, right? And so a lot of people are like, well, how does that work? Well, I can drive a bunch of those, right? But this is where I think agencies really need to step it up, is they need to look beyond just that form and not say, hey, and that's instead of measuring our return on ad spend, right? Because there's no revenue coming from it. You're then looking at your cost per, so your cost per lead or form fill, if you will. And what I think that our agency has been doing that sets us apart is we have been working with a lot of lead gen clients and connecting fully with their CRM. So Cupcake Shop might not have a CRM like HubSpot or Salesforce or Zoho. Many clients do, depending on the industry. But I mean, it can even be done on like a Google Sheet of passing that data into a Google Sheet and just, we got this click at this time. Did they end up purchasing? How much did they purchase? It's, did they come in store and say, that was me? So when we have all those CRMs on the back end, especially for clients where it's like a long life cycle, like if you're searching for cupcakes, I feel like you're going to buy them in like a week or so. It's for a party. It's for something close by. We have clients though, I mean, it's solar. So it's like, they're not going to just be like, sure, let me pick up those solar panels tomorrow. Like it's a whole long sales process. And so that's where having, the ability to collect leads and look at them in a CRM and have a team that goes in and assesses and says, wow, well, the cost per lead on this campaign was really awful compared to this one. But hey, the one with a higher cost per lead was actually driving sales at a much higher rate, which you would never know if you're not looking beyond that initial lead and actually seeing, did it follow through? Is it a sale? And what we're doing now is there's been all these integrations lately with Google Ads where you can now pass that data back. So with Zoho, with HubSpot, there's a bunch of different CRMs you can work with. But you can pass that data back. So now within Google Ads, if you have the right infrastructure, you can see exactly what keywords are driving sales. And I think a lot of lead gen clients don't really understand that we now have that ability. So we're not just going to, they're like, you can give me 100 leads. And if none of them close, who cares? Like I care and I can tell you. So I think there's a lot of confusion there.
It sounds like you get excited about the data, which we do as well. Whenever we see this data, it's kind of really interesting to dive in and learn about it and see how you can use that for not only this time, but the next time. Do you find you have to educate your clients a bit of the strategy that you guys want to implement? Like maybe a cupcake seller is like, I just want to run ads of, cupcakes for sale. And that's just what I want to target. And you're like, no. But the data shows that if we do this little tweak, because that keyword might be super expensive.
Yeah. But
if we go after these other things that are a little bit outside the box, you're going to get better results. Do you find yourself having to kind of educate your clients on that?
Yeah, I would say, there's definitely an education piece, but there's also how much they want to learn. And, a lot of this is kind of us assessing a client in the beginning. Like we like clients that say, I just need someone who knows what they're doing. I just want to make cupcakes. Like we love when they're like, I trust you and do the things. And we give them a whole, strategy document they run through. We ask any questions, but it's some of this stuff like some people just they don't care about, they don't want to hear cost per click and how does your quality score play into it, your bids, like it's too much for them. And sometimes that's a great client for us. We have a ton of other clients, right? So on the side where we work, where agencies hire us. So sometimes we're an extension of their team, or, someone put paid search on the media plan and then was like, who's running that? And it's me. So we'll have our team plug in there. In that case, sometimes we're working directly with an AM at an agency, like an account manager or account executive, that they talk directly to the client. So they might have more strategic type questions just because, media kind of like runs through their veins and they have all the questions, which is fine too. So I would say a lot of times we've had clients that are like, why can't we just do it this way? But I would hope we can hold our own now. We're going 6 years strong. So tough conversations can be great conversations.
Oh yeah, for sure. You mentioned having Google as a client where they like, we don't care how it's done, just get it done. We don't need to know the mumbo jumbo.
Google was really interesting because they cannot run their own Google ads. So I did not work directly for Google. I worked for the agency out in San Francisco that managed Google Ads for multiple Google products. So I head up the Google Ads team. This is when Google Partners was being pushed a lot. And also at the time, AdWords Express, which feels like many moons ago at this time, which I'm thankful for. But it was really interesting. So I worked with essentially product people. So there was like a product person who ran Partners, who was great, one who ran Google Ads. And they were kind of like product people with a little bit of media background. And so like I could have incredible, like intelligent conversations with them. But they trusted us to like do our thing. That agency that I worked at too was an incredible agency. I've worked for many agencies and they were definitely one of my favorites. And so there was for sure trust and rapport and everything built up. loved the team. The team had multiple offices, so we would meet up with the Google team in New York. So I would work half and half. I worked half out of a downtown office and then half out of Google's Mountain View campus, which was like gnat pods. It was just wild to see. I got as many free caramel macchiatos as I wanted. It was just a dream.
Yeah, that does sound pretty good.
Yeah.
That was the height of the Tech Valley, whatever you want goes.
Yeah, there was beach volleyball. You'd walk in, you'd be like, people had their dogs everywhere. There was like a dog playpen. I was like, what is this magical place? Being in like your 20s, you're just like, what is this? They had food trucks all over, and I mean, my clients, became great friends because I was there, half a week, every week for months, and they would take me to see all the things. I mean, it was for sure a fun time on the campus.
Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn are walking in, filming movies there about acting on campus.
Right.
When it comes to the different types of paid ads, right? There's Google ads, which is your search engine type stuff. But then you've also mentioned Facebook and all the social medias and stuff. It feels like that number grows and grows and grows every year of kind of the numbers, the platforms you have to keep in mind. How has that been on your end from the agency perspective of not only mastering the existing platforms and keeping up with their changes, but learning the new ones as well?
Yeah, that has been a little bit tricky. Like I said, our setup is kind of so unique in that we have people with their day jobs at other agencies that are giving them wonderful training on all these things. So it's like an interesting, it's like a moonlighting, wonderful conglomerate of people here. So we benefit from a lot of the agency knowledge that these team members get for sure. I would say one of the newest ones that we've had added to our set would be TikTok for sure. And one of the, we're working with the top engines here. So you're talking Google, Bing, there's some smaller ones and we don't play in them too often because I feel like what ends up happening is, they end up like Microsoft ads, for example, like now has like some LinkedIn targeting integrated to it and things like that. So I feel like they kind of all on some level like connect. Like a lot of clients who are running Google ads say, well, so-and-so from this managed service came to me and said, we should run ads with them. And I'm like, yeah, but like what, give me like a sample of all their websites because you could easily be hitting all those websites with a Google display campaign, right? So there's a lot of I feel like overlap between sites that you can run on. And so I think it's sticking to a channel that you know and that you know how to work versus like, let me dabble here, dabble there. I'm a big fan on experts versus generalists, right? So my team is like the paid search team, that is all that they do. That is like what they do 100%. Same with paid social. So there's never someone on my team that is like, let's do both. Just because I see it as totally different. Same thing when someone comes to us for like a shopping campaign and they need help setting up their feed. Well, that's not your paid search person because that's like saying like, hey, creative, can you set up a website real quick for me? It's very different. It's just a different skill set of like setting up a feed. So I'm all about having experts and they work on the platforms that they know the best. And if they want to take on another platform, I just like it to be under their wing. Like I would say my paid social team that works on, Meta, Facebook, Instagram's kind of under that wing. TikTok, it's still social, it's still under that wing. So,
I love it. I love to use the analogy that, like you think of your house, right? And you call somebody to come fix something in your house. And if it's the plumbing, you get a plumber. If it's electrical, you get an electrician. Just because they know how to fix something in the wall doesn't mean that the plumber knows how to do what the electrician does. I know there's a wall there, but it goes like, you're going to have two different,
that is a great analogy.
I would say, experience that you would get from each one. Then what they can fix.
The unicorns. There's people out there that exist,
Well, and then there's like, we know though that there's probably not everybody. And we like to find, it sounds like when you hire and bring people on or putting people on campaigns that you're putting on the best of the best for it versus the person that like kind of does it 20% of the time. They're doing it probably most of the time. So you talked about your team. So tell me about like kind of like your what's like your tech stack? How do you kind of work with them? What's it like? Because I know it sounds like kind of remote and everything like that. How do you? Because hey, we're a tech podcast, so it's perfect to talk about how you're using probably technology. I'm sure you're not doing faxes anymore to communicate with them.
Yeah, it's been a little bit since I've had to fax something. You're right. It's been a little bit. So I am so I love tech. And, we talked about me doing podcasts, before. Most of my podcasts are actually tech for parents because I'm a mom to 3, which is a whole other story. But so I love tech, but I will say with my business, I am a minimalist because I was bootstrapping this thing together. So still my business, it cost me a cool $300 a month to run. So That is it. So I do not have a wild tech stack. I just have tools that work really well for me. So in terms of what it looks like, Google, I'm for sure like a Google girl because obviously why wouldn't I be, right? I have my Google Calendar, my Google email, your Gmail. I use Google Drive for everything. I share out documents with the team that way. They all have access to their own client folders. They drop reports in there. I used to be a fan of freeconferencecall.com. So definitely check that out if you're looking for something. I liked a lot of features that they had, but I really quickly moved over to Google Meets once that was, available for me. And then, the platforms that I use most often are Google Ads, Microsoft Ads, and then Meta, which is historically like your Facebook Ads Manager. And then we work with a couple of CRMs, but all of our CRMs, the clients have and, own those. So we don't have our own CRM. So we work with ones like HubSpot, Salesforce, Zoho, and that's just us connecting into. So like we might have an analytics team member that is like, I'm going to go in and do some things in there. I don't know because I'm an expert in what I do, right? So they do things to make it really smart and pass back all the data that I need. I just tell them what needs to happen. And then just in terms of reporting, so that's where most of my cost comes from is we do pay for Supermetrics. So Supermetrics is a really cool reporting interface that can kind of pull and query data from all over the place. Things like, I might have a document that's like all of my clients rolled into one document that's their budget pacing for the month, right? Because we got to make sure we can't go over budget for these clients, right? So I might log in there and see, okay, like we're 80% through the month, 80% to budget, see if anyone's pacing hot so I can let the team member know. Supermetrics does things like that. Also our monthly dashboards allows us to be very visual. It's not like a Domo or Tableau or anything like that. But we can still get very visual with the data that we present to our clients. And most of our clients, we are on like a monthly reporting cadence when it comes to dashboarding. And then Google Data Studio is also something that we use sometimes. That's nice because there's real-time data in there. Same with Supermetrics, really, but we kind of send over a Supermetrics report, whereas Google Data Studio is like, log in anytime you want, see everything nice and refreshed and up to date. And we like to do that. So, we'll never restrict a client from going in Google Ads, but it's nice to know that there's only one cook in the kitchen. So we love to, if we can, export that data in a meaningful way so they're not like digging around and trying to find what's going on in Google Ads and like, oops, deleted the account, and, stuff like that. So
Nice. No, we appreciate that. That makes it, again, it shows just how approachable Jalapeño Digital is and how easy, it's not like, you need 15 softwares to work with you guys that, again, you keep it simple and your efforts and energies are really in the work that you do and not trying to, do too much. And so again, this was super exciting. We absolutely loved connecting today. I feel like people overall are going to hopefully be educated a little bit more on pay-per-click. I know I got to geek out a little bit on hearing some of the, some of the things that we got to talk about, but I think it hopefully makes it a lot more, approachable and definitely can, turn to you for your expertise, whether an agency needs help or small, mid-size, or I don't know, maybe Bing needs help with some, Google ads at some point. Maybe they can turn to you. I mean, can't hurt, right? Give that a go. So thanks so much again.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Caleb Smith, and I'm the general partner of Jefferson Capital here in West Palm Beach, Florida. And my tech tip is to use your notepad. Writing things down is one of the most critical steps I take on a daily basis to make sure I get my things done and keep my priorities straight.
For details and show notes about today's show, go to floridapodcastnetwork.com. And we want our community of Florida enthusiasts to grow. Join in with our superfans, the FPN Insiders on Facebook, Clubhouse, and Good Pods. Just search for FPN Insiders, and of course, find us anytime at iwantclarity.com.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at floridapodcastnetwork.com. I'm not going to sing. Craig always sings. I'm not going to sing.
There's a song?
Craig will sometimes throw in some lyrics or whatever.
It's got to be Jenny from the block.
Don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. I'm still pay-per-click from the block.